Hello, Rapid Runners, and welcome back. We are here with Frame by Frame. This is going to be a game show presented by Rapid Runs for Fun, where I'll be going through and interviewing a runner while we dissect the run that they're going to be showcasing. Today, our guest is no other than Louwegi, and they're going to be showing off Monster Hunter World History Books Any Percent. So, Louwegi, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Louwegi. And yeah, this is Monster Hunter, my favorite game, and what I have been speedrunning for the past few months.
So, what is History Books about, if you can explain?
Yeah, so the main game of Monster Hunter, if anyone's played it, is quite long, and the full speedrun is just under 2.5 hours. So, and it used to be much longer. So it's been split up into multiple categories. History books is the the shortest of those, and it's about an hour long. There's also Colossal Task, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then there's the full run of 2.5. And because I had to write everything myself, I've been doing history books. So this takes us through the first sort of chunk of the game to the Zora Magdaros fight, the first one of those, which is sort of the first main breaking point.
So why is it called History Book Percent, if you don't mind me asking? Like, do you collect books?
The Zora Magdaros... No, the quest at the end of this run is called One for the History Books, and that's why it's called that.
Okay, that's super awesome. It's good to know. Because I know some people probably look at the percentage of like History Books percent, you know, they'll see the word books and be like, they're probably just collecting books on the run.
No books in here, just monsters.
Okay, so you said that you've been doing routing, so you were the only one in on the routing for the history books, or what do you mean by that?
So, this has been run by other people, but in Monster Hunter there are 14 different weapons, and they all play slightly differently, and they're slightly different balancing. They're mostly similar, but some are better than others, and no one have really done any routes for Greatsword, which is my favorite weapon. So I just did the entire thing myself with Greatsword, which has come out to be roughly equal to the best weapons, being Sword and Shield and Switch Axe. So
that's super
yeah,
awesome.
It's pretty cool.
You end up proving the underdog is like the victor here. That's super cool. So do you want to get into the run? Is there anything else you would like to explain before we start the VOD?
No, I think it's good to just start.
All right, so if we would like to get that video started, we can jump into the run, and then you can start explaining your setup on how you get the run going, and then we'll go from there.
Just reset simulator today.
All right, cool. So we've just got a little bit of character creation. Time starts when we finish creating our character, so you can take as long as you want. So I just have a standard preset that I sort of do and can do pretty quickly. But we do have an auto splitter, which will start automatically, and it also cuts out all load times, and it cuts out cutscene times, because this run has over an hour of cutscenes in the full game. But with that, we also have a mod that removes cutscenes, that we can just skip them. So we use a mod in all the speedruns to skip cutscenes, because it was a huge pain running with an hour of cutscenes that you can't skip in the base game.
Oh, so mods are allowed in the speedrun. Now, is there anything other than just cutscene skips are allowed? Like, can you do custom skins? Is there, like, custom weapons? Anything of that sort?
In ILs, generally, those mods would be allowed, but in any percent, only the cutscene skip mod and the mod loader is allowed.
Awesome, okay.
It's just
and you
really
said an
hard
hour of... Oh, keep going,
yes,
my bad.
It's just really hard to sort of... like proof check that you're not using other mods that are affecting the game in ways that are actually like noticeable. So it's only the one mod allowed.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So I see right here in the game there's a cutscene playing. So this is not considered a cutscene right here.
No, so this is sort of you can't skip this cutscene. It's the auto splitter, I believe, uses. And the cutscene skip mod, there's like a flag or something for when it's a cutscene or not. And you can see that this sort of directly goes into gameplay here. So now we're in gameplay again.
Okay, that makes sense.
Generally what's happening right here is we got stuck on the back of Zora Magdaros, the boss that we're going to be fighting at the end. We just need to sort of climb up to the top and jump off. This is sort of like a tutorial section for the basic movement in the game.
Very good corner.
Coming up, actually, at the top here, there are some birds called Barnos, and they have random positions, and sometimes they can just hit you. And if they hit you, you lose 3 seconds. And if you dodge them, you lose 1.5. So, well, it's a bit less than that. But it's just RNG time loss right at the beginning of the game, which is lots of fun.
So generally speaking, you want to just be able to walk past them. You don't want to dodge roll, and you don't want to get hit. Okay.
You want to do it just how I did it there, which was just walking as far to the left as possible. And I got 144 exit in that cutscene there, so that's a good start.
Now, if they hit you, I saw you were climbing up the back of the monster. Now, if they were to hit you as you get up there, are they able to knock you back down the ledge, or is there an invisible wall that saves you from falling down?
Generally, you will get hit to the edge and you won't fall. If you get unlucky, the sort of physics in that area are a bit janky, and there are ways that you can just randomly fall all the way back down and just reset, which is a lot of fun. But luckily, it's not too far in, so it's not too big a deal. But when
so I see we're moving into... Oh, keep going.
Yeah, when grinding some of the sort of meme categories, which are much, much shorter, you absolutely do risk it a lot more in that section and reset 30 seconds in.
That's so tragic that RNG at the very beginning can decide your run. So I see we're moving into a new area. Now, what is your objective here? Now that you're done with the tutorial area, how are you beginning the run? What are your first setups? Is there anything that you need to get done that's like more priority than others?
This is still a tutorial section, I'm sorry. This is sort of the second tutorial. We're now in the Ancient Forest, but we still don't have our weapon. This is one of the main locales that you fight monsters in, but we're still in the tutorial. And it's about to teach us about hiding, and we're just making our way over to the sort of hub world of the game. But coming up after this sort of vines and the cutscene here is the hiding section, where we're still trying to work out how it works exactly. You just need to hide in these bushes, wait for these small enemies here called Jaguars to... Okay, we've got some loading. We need to wait for them to lose track of you, and then you can exit and move on. But it's sort of... we've skipped ahead here.
Okay, what's going on here, Vex? What are we doing? Let's go
Vex,
back to where we were at.
Why are we 20 minutes ahead?
I guess he's trying to give you a time save here. We were about... just go to about 4 minutes in. We were at the...
about 3 to 4 minutes, yeah. Before this.
So 3:30. Kind of before this. Keep going. That's so funny. Okay, let's start from here.
Anyway. So after the hide, there is a short sort of wait, and then the handler, the NPC here, will start a dialogue and then run over and open these vines you can run through. But it seems to be sort of random how long the handler takes to start the dialogue and run over. We're still trying to work it out. We've got a couple setups with how we move to sort of make it a little more consistent. But generally, it's a little bit RNG.
This is a 5/5.
Now, before we get too further, I saw when you were in the sneaking section, you had paused your game when you got into the bush. Now, is there a reason why you had paused and gone into your settings?
Yeah, so when you open the menu, it doesn't actually pause the game. Everything's still going. So while we're waiting in the bush there and waiting for the handler afterwards, I'm opening the settings and changing a couple things. Most of them are just personal preference, like I'm changing the control type. There's some camera distance stuff. But important one is turning off autosave, because at the end of every single quest, the game will autosave, which takes a couple seconds. And if you just decline the save in manual save mode, you can save those couple seconds.
Oh, that's super cool.
A lot during the run. Yeah.
I imagine an hour run, so...
Yeah, it does mean that in marathon settings, you have to remember to actually save if you want to have a safety save.
Now, a question about some of the mechanics used in this game. Now, you said sneaking. Now, is there any mechanics that they teach you in the tutorial that just has no use at all in the speedrunning? Like the scene? I cannot picture sneaking being useful, right?
Actually, so sneaking in the way they teach you is not useful, but there is a tool we will get to later that lets you automatically hide, and that is actually useful.
Over 4.9.
Oh, okay.
We will get into that later.
Perfect. I just figured I'd ask since I noticed that there was a couple things that stood out to me as like I've seen in other speedruns. Like, well, that doesn't seem like it'd be too useful in some of the speedrun tactics. Like, why would you want to be too slow in a bush when you can just go head on like you all were in those arena matches? But I went to watch
Yeah.
Monster Hunter, so this is kind of fun to learn. So I
Yeah.
see we're now in a port town. We're done with the tutorial. So now, what is your objective now that you're done with that?
So here we've still got the character there is Field Team Leader, voiced by Matt Mercer. So we often just, but he's now sort of walking us through the hub world here called Astera, sort of showing us where everything is. So we're still in sort of the tutorial phase. We just sort of have to follow along the path. We probably saw we skipped ahead of him at the beginning. He's got this sort of radius around him that if you're next to him, you walk really slowly, and we're trying to move as much as we can around that, so we're walking quickly. Sort of stuck here, but coming up is sort of the only skip in the run, and it saves a few seconds. Where after this sort of cutscene showing off the forge area, we're going to run just out of his circle that forces you slow, and then cut across the bridge before you can catch up to us and get to the next cutscene early.
So it's not dependent on him getting there. It's dependent on you getting there first, and that's when the cutscene starts.
Yes. Yeah, we
Okay,
need to
so
get
that's
to these
why you're trying to
places
avoid the bubble.
for this.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we're going to run into this corner, and as soon as I get my running speed, I'm going to cut across the bridge here. All right, and there we go.
So precise. It's right next to the ropes too. Like you line up perfectly the moment you turn.
Yeah. It saves probably about 10 seconds that, and it's really sad if you miss it, because you just have to do the walk of shame in really, really slowly. But actually, the text skipping here is also kind of interesting. I'm using controller for most of my gameplay, but I've also got my keyboard, and for text mashing, we're holding spacebar down, mashing F and X and circle to skip through the text.
Oh my goodness.
By holding down either spacebar or F on the keyboard, it like doubles your speed for some reason.
That is insane how many things you have to press just to skip some dialogue. You can just hold like one button. Nah, you have to hold 4 buttons. Yeah. Oh, that's so awesome. So I have a question about like the category. Now, of all the things that I saw, I went through the SRC page, and of all the categories there were, why is it because of the length of this run? Is it because of what it takes you through? Is there like a certain reason why you chose this category out of all the other ones?
Well, my main goal is I want to get to the point where I'm doing the full Xeno % or full any %. But this is a sort of partial any %. We go through the first third, and in the full run, you still do this section. And it's just easier to route in sections, so I've done this whole run, got it down to time I'm happy with, and then I'm now working on the sort of longer runs as well.
Oh, so this is almost kind of like an introductory run to full any % for anybody who actually wants to get into. That's also really cool to see. That
if you want to get into the run, you can just run the history books, and then you can do Colossal Task, which is another third, and then you can do Xeno.
What a cool way to make segment percents so people can technically do segmented runs and a way to still participate in any %. That's a clever way of separating a longer run and still keeping people like included in it. Another runner, I mean, you obviously know Xanadu in the community, when they run near and they have all of those endings and stuff. I like games that have all these multiple categories with different times. And I honestly didn't know that those categories linked up the way they did. So I'm assuming since you've learned this one, you're moving into the second segment, which you said it was what, one more time? What was the second part of it?
It's called Colossal Task, and that's because the next end quest name is A Colossal Task. But here we're moving into the first quest here, where we have to kill some of those small monsters. We're going to be picking up these rocks here, which are going to be very useful, and we're also picking up power shrooms, which are going to be useful later. So we have to kill 7 of these guys. I will talk about that later. So first of all, we need to kill 7 of these little guys. But after you kill 2 of them, the rest of the pack runs into this cave. So we're shooting these fiery rocks at the floor, and when they run through the cave, they're going to walk on the fires that it spawns, and they're going to just die. And so we just need to kill 1 inside the cave here, and then all of the others will die. And I sort of messed it up in this run, but... yeah, it's okay.
Oh boy, that was a really annoying Jagras.
And so now
That's
is
such
a
a
good
cool
time
trick.
I'm gonna just keep
Yeah.
going though.
Now is a
I'll
good time to
take
talk about the
bad
end
Jackals.
timer. So at the end of every
get a
single
run
quest,
past
you have this sort of
10
timer
minutes.
countdown at the top of the screen. If you kill the monster, it's 60 seconds, and if you capture it, which we'll talk about in a second, it'll be 20 seconds. And you cannot skip this timer at all, so we'll use the timer to gather resources on the
menu.
map. What we're going to be
That's
trying to gather...
very smart.
Yeah, so what we're going to try and gather is we need parashrooms and sleep herbs to make trank bombs, and we need flash bugs, which will sort of blind the monster for a short time. We need spider webs and ivy to make nets, which can be used to make one type of trap, and thunderbugs to make another type of trap. And all of these resources, we've had to memorize all the locations that they spawn in and find the best routes to gather them at the end of every quest to get many resources as possible.
Like I'm like watching you run, and like the way that you're precisely going in between grabbing these materials, obviously that they're not procedurally generated. I'm assuming, like, you know
No,
exactly
they're
where they're
always
gonna
in the
spawn
same
at.
place.
Okay,
And
okay,
also,
that's nice.
but then again, like some of the routes we're getting, we need to go as precise as possible to actually manage to grab them. So you saw there, I only had a couple seconds spare at the end there. So if I messed up my movement, I would miss out on that flash bug. And missing that flash bug loses like a minute on one of the hunts, because the quest after this one, we use that flash bug and it makes the fight trivial. But without it, you actually have to fight the monster, which is much slower than just hitting him until he dies.
I mean, that makes sense. Might as well stun them and then just start
Yeah.
mollywomping on them. So I see right now you're crafting a weapon. Now this is where you're picking up your greatsword.
Yeah, so we have a iron greatsword that you start with, which is the super basic one that they start you off with, and now we're crafting the defender one. The game, when they added the Iceborne DLC expansion, they added these defender weapons into the main game to sort of boost you through to get to the new content as quickly as possible, which works out brilliantly for speedruns because they're made to get you through the game quickly, so they get you through pretty quickly. They are way stronger than any other weapons you can make at this point, and the game guarantees you get the materials to upgrade them. So it's super handy.
Oh, so like you don't actually have to grind for them. Like you weren't going out of
Yeah.
your way to grab the stuff. Like it automatically. Okay, that's super cool.
Yeah,
Be
you
nice,
get
just
all the
go.
items
Please be
guaranteed
nice,
as you
please be
progress
nice,
through the
please be
game.
nice.
Okay, but this split here is Kestodon, so we've got more small monsters to kill. These are like these guys are separated to male and female. I think it's the males with more health, and they're sort of the bigger ones. They are really annoying and one of the biggest reset points in the run if you're going for
Now-
record times. Here,
Now,
I'm
is there a
doing a
reason
combo
why?
here. Yeah, their positions are
That's
random,
perfect.
and we can't
Oh,
manipulate
okay.
them. So you see that I killed the entire pack with one
After
combo
that, they're
there?
gonna attack
That does
us.
not
Yes.
always
To
happen,
avoid
and
that.
there's no way to manipulate it. You just have to
Okay,
pray.
so I see what you're saying. So sometimes they can be
Yeah,
separated from
enough.
each other, and you have to just kind of fight
Yep.
them one-on-one. And
Yeah,
okay.
sometimes you have to fight them individually, and it's so much slower than just doing one combo and killing the whole pack.
Alright, come on,
It's
second
awful.
pack.
And this second
Just-
pack
just
coming
all
out
group
is
together,
even
please.
worse because there's a lot more of them, and if you can
Everyone
get double
die
kills,
right at the beginning.
you can kill them really quickly, and if you have to kill them one at a time because they're spread out, it kills your run. You can lose 30 seconds here.
So when you walk up to them, they're not just gonna walk up to you. They'll actually go into, like, I see defensive positions and separate
Yep.
themselves. Like
And their
the
heads,
AI isn't just brain dead.
Yeah.
Got it.
you do less damage on the head as well with these monsters, so if they're facing you, then it can take extra hits to kill them, it takes longer. You want to be sort of side on, hitting multiple at a time. Here I got it sort of okay because I
I'll
managed to
take
kill the two big ones in one hit, but then I did have to kill all the small ones separately. So it wasn't perfect, but it was good
I
enough.
will take that Kestodon split.
That's crazy to see that, like, once again, more RNG. You're not even 4 splits into the run. I guess you're on your 4th split, and we've talked about so much RNG and stuff that has to, like, go perfectly for you. That's
Yeah.
that's quite a bit. Oh, so I see we have the lizard here. This has got to be
Yeah.
the
This is the Great Jaguars, and this is the first large monster of the run. And from now on, we'll only be fighting these large monsters, which is sort of the main part of the game. Is fighting these various large monsters, and then carving them up and making gear for yourself. Except we don't make any gear with their parts in this run. We just.
And I'm assuming those items you were picking up that you said you explained later, these are going to be used on this boss, correct? For more damage
Yes.
and for stunning them. Got it.
Yep. So
Nice big
as we make our way over, we're actually on a cycle here. So the Jaguars, we cannot catch up to it really. It's making its way to a specific area, and it will get there at a set time, and we just have to get there in time to fight it to do our script. So we have time to grab a couple items here, and we're about to do what's called Capros. So before this, I bought a trap tool from the shop, and now I'm using that to craft a pitfall trap. And we're going to use this to capture Jaguars. So
now, when you say you
have
have to get there on a timer, there's global timers. Like these guys will move around and like do RNG type stuff.
So in this quest, he has a set sort of time that he's going to get here by from when you trigger that cutscene, and we just want to get there by the time that he's under that rock. So you see, I dropped the rock there and then placed the trap down here. So
yes,
as soon as he falls over from the rock, and then once he gets out, he's going to fall in this trap, and then I can just get him down to a certain HP, and then he's captured.
That is insanely fast.
And like I mentioned with the timer on the Jaguars quest, you can see we've got 20-second timer now, whereas it was 60 before, and that's because I captured him. So to capture the monster, you need them down below 30% health, and you throw 2 track bombs at them and get them in a trap, and they'll be captured. And that saves a ton of time throughout the run because you can capture pretty much every monster, and every time you do it, you save about a minute.
Now, is there going to be monsters that you're not going to capture for more resource gathering, or are you just going to try to capture every monster you come across in this run?
If the monster is possible to capture, it is better to capture them. In the full game run, there are monsters at the end called Elder Dragons that you cannot capture, so you have to kill them. But other than that, we capture everything. So I'm
now,
just
with your
buying some
resource
more
gathering and stuff like that, so if you're going through these levels and you're gathering all these resources and stuff, do you have a set amount that you're trying to gather before you stop collecting, or are you always gathering resources throughout the entire run?
We will always be gathering resources if there are ones that don't lose time to get, because every single resource can be useful or can just be a backup. Because if you mess up one of these fights and you don't have a backup, you have to reset. And if you have a backup, you can just take a 10-second time loss and keep going. So having extra resources is very helpful.
Now, I see we're back in this part. We're going to be going through this area quite a bit, correct? And then, does it transition to anything new, or is this the biome that you'll be sticking in the entire run?
There'll be one more biome that we'll be fighting in for a couple of these quests. But this is the game teaching us about expeditions. The game lets you go on just open world expeditions to any of the locales where you have an infinite timer. Monsters will spawn and despawn randomly. And this is sort of the game teaching you it. So we're going in the expedition here. We have to go to the second camp, which is like a second place you can start a quest from, and then a monster will show up. Actually, on our path there, we got lucky this time and he didn't show up, but Anjanath, the big T-Rex from the opening, can spawn there. And if he does, we have to run past him while looking our camera at the ground, because otherwise we spot him and we get an extra dialogue in the upcoming cutscene.
Oh, wow. Okay. So once again, more RNG.
Yeah, more RNG. It doesn't actually lose any time except to like unclean lines because you can't see where you're going, but it is annoying.
So I see you have a companion when you spawn in, your little furry friend there. Now, is that companion aesthetic? Is it just a thing to have with you? Does it actually help? Like any uses at all?
Technically, it's helpful. Yeah, that's your Palico. It's like a little cat. It will do damage. It attacks the monsters. You can have it have tools to do some CC and crowd control and stuff. But generally, it's annoying, and I'll talk about that in a sec. But here we're using the flash pod we got in the first quest and this is the monster that can lose a minute. So this is Kuliaku. It's a chicken, and if you blind it with a flash pod, he has no AI anymore. He just stands there. And you can see how this might save time.
Now, my question is what do you mean you can lose a minute? Like, if it's that easy to just get him stunned, how are you losing a minute? If you miss your flash bomb?
If we mess up movement in the Jaguars quest, and we are not able to grab the flash pod before the end timer, we don't have it here, and there is no backup for it. We just don't have that flash
Oh.
pod, and we have to fight Kulu instead of having him stunned and stay still.
Annoying, I messed up the menuing slightly.
Now, is there a strat? Like, let's say that you don't get it. Is there a backup strat to fight him, or is the AI really random with that chicken?
I would reset, because you could do it. You would lose time no matter what, but you could do it and not lose too much. But I would always just reset, because it's only 20 minutes into the run. I would reset at that point.
Okay. That's kind of a cool strat that you're able to use something from another mission and then completely just break an enemy's AI. Now, how long is the chicken stunned for?
Man, I don't actually remember. It's different for different monsters. They have their own sort of data for all of them, and I could find out, but we've got plenty to talk about, so I won't go delving into monster data right now.
That's fine. I was just curious if it was like an infinite stun, like if it actually just bugged out and they didn't move anymore, or okay. So you still have to be wary once you hit them to make sure you finish them off as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Got it.
Alright, this is Pookie, and this is... I have changed this script a lot of times. Script is just like the route for the actual fight. You can think of it like a script for a play. But here, so I'm going to be shooting this sort of plant here, and that drops this pool on the ground, and if the monster walks in it, they get poisoned. But it also attracts the monster's attention. So I move it over to that spot, and then shoot it into the wall using sort of the slinger on my arm. You can shoot monsters that are not enraged into the wall, and then they sort of fall over, and you get an opening to do damage. Now in this one, I think I messed up the script.
Okay.
Yeah. So it managed to raw me. You can iframe raws, so you don't get that little animation where you're stuck. But I messed it up here, so now I have to just freestyle and fight it. And this is one of the time losses in this run. Is I am off script right now, so I am doing what can lose you a minute easily and just fighting the monster with no plan.
Wow, so one mistake such as one iframe miss on the dodge roll, and you're now just completely... You're helpless to just nothing but fight the monster.
Yeah, this is completely improv right here. I know this fight pretty well because I've done it a lot of times, and I know roughly how to get back on track, but there's no way that you are not losing time if you go off script.
So the script always works though. You follow it down, it's always going to end up the same. Like the monsters always behave the same. Okay.
So monsters
that was
do
still
have
really
AI.
quick for you know you saying you messed up. So that was really cool that you were able to improv and only lose like what seemed to be 20 some odd seconds.
Yeah. Here in the end timer here, there are no good items to grab in this 20-second here, so I'm setting up the radial menu, and this is a way to quickly craft items without having to go into the menu every time.
Well,
you can just hold L1 and it brings up a wheel, and you can use your right stick to select items and just craft them instantly, which is going to be used very often. But that end time there was 144. If the fight goes well, and with some new sort of route, you can get low 120 with Greatsword. So I
Still
lost
a very
easily
impressive setup with that
seconds.
plant. I also noticed that you were taking damage from the plant, so you were actually just hurting yourself as well to make sure you were setting up for maximum damage. That's really cool.
Yeah. Generally, we have pretty good armor because when they added the defender weapons, they also added the guardian armor, which is really good armor for early game, and you can just start with it. So generally, at least in this run, we don't need to worry about dying. If we're getting hit enough to be in risk of dying, we're already losing a lot of time. So we're pretty safe in that
I should be
regard.
20 seconds ahead.
But
So
here's
I
an
noticed that...
unskippable cutscene.
Oh, go ahead. So
This is an unskippable cutscene, even with the mod.
So this is actually a cutscene. This isn't one of those ones that just blend straight into game.
No, this is an actual cutscene, and the mod, in its first state, you could skip it, but it soft locks the game, so we can't skip it.
All right, so it must be an important trigger inside this cutscene that you have to hit.
Yeah.
I noticed on the SRC page that there's an any percent and one that says add-ons and one that says no add-ons, which I'm assuming is the armor and the weapons. Is there a massive difference between them that I'm assuming just difficulty, or do the routes have to change? Is there anything that might, be that much different?
Everything is different. We do the same quests, but we gather different items. We have worse equipment, just straight up worse. We do way less damage. We have to do different scripts, and in fact, a lot of the fights we just have to fight because we can't script out the fights for every single combination of gear we have. So we're just
Otherwise, I'll be
fighting the
suffering
monsters
for
a lot
another
of the
half
time,
hour.
and it adds
Woo.
way loads of time. A
Okay,
full
so
game run will be 2.5 hours with add-ons, and a good full game run without will be like 3.5.
So you're able to choose, like as you said, the equipment that you'll have. So here in your run, you stick with the great sword pretty much all the way through. Like you said, it's to get you through the main game, and there you're just changing out weapons. Like you'll go from like a great sword to like fist to other things.
So you can use any weapon you want, but we do split them up. So I'm using greatsword only, but you could also use any other weapon and exclusively use that weapon. But then we've also got a category for using multiple weapons, and that's sort of separated as sort of the true any percent whatever.
Okay,
But
okay.
I just like greatsword a lot, so I'm running with just greatsword, and we split those separately so that you can compare with others just using the same weapon. But this
Now, is there
quest
a
is an
reason
auto
why you? Oh,
scroller.
go ahead.
This quest is an auto scroller. So you saw the cart at the beginning in the cutscene. They are on a set track and will get to various checkpoints that we need to meet them at set times. So we're running around the area just gathering items that we need for later while we wait for them to reach. And we just need to meet up with them at a couple set points to progress.
Well, that's kind of a neat auto scroller, though. It's not like you're just sitting around doing nothing. Like you're actually still gathering materials, so there's still some like part of the run going on.
Yeah, and
That's
we've
good.
actually quite recently found a better gathering route for this quest, and it is actually insanely tight. So there can actually be a lot of skill in just the gathering in this area. And for full
Can,
game runs, it can save it saves about 6 seconds doing the new super tight movement, and it's still
can I
worth
ask
going
like
for.
what changes and what you're able to benefit by with this change? I'm assuming like a new item, anything like that's like super beneficial for you.
You get 2 extra items, but those are
Okay.
damaging increasing items, and it lets you skip eating food at the canteen, which is something I don't do at all in this run. But in full game runs, you do or did anyway at specific points, and each one of those that you save 6 seconds.
Oh, okay. And the canteen, I'm assuming that's for going through getting food that gives you various buffs.
Yeah, pretty much. And you gives you attack buffs, and we pick up with the new route. We pick up extra attack buffing items, so that you can do the same scripts and keep up the same amount of damage without having to use that time loss to eat at the canteen.
That's actually really cool. Once again, cutting out another part of the game. As I talked about like earlier with the tutorials or anything the game teaches you that you don't need, and there's a whole other function of the game that you all just avoid because of your item route. That's really cool.
Yeah,
So I'm assuming in
and the
this run you didn't do the new one, right? You didn't do the new item
no,
route
this
in
is
this one?
this is the old one, and also in this category, the new route doesn't save any time at all because actually the time save comes over an hour later in the run.
Oh, and I mean, as you can see, the time ends at 55, so that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
So I noticed that
So
dragon
here,
flew in and you just escaped. What happened there?
So in the sort of story of this quest, the cart is sort of making its way through to the other end of the area, and they get here, and that monster called a Rathian showed up, and they're like, "Help, Hunter, go protect us from the Rathian." And so they throw us in, and we're supposed to sort of fight it off while they sort of run past. But the game doesn't force you to do that at all. So as soon as it spawns, we can just leave, and they will continue on their path. So I'm sure they'll deal with it. And we'll just go gather more items. But we have a little time to sort of do some inventory management there at the camp and pick up some throwing knives, which we're going to use in a moment here. We're just crafting them into paralysis knives using some of the materials we've gathered.
Really? You're all just gonna get in my way?
And now we're just going to gather even more items.
So what is your favorite monster in this game?
My favorite monster would be Alatrion, which is sort of the second last monster in the entire game. It's a really fun fight, as well as a big skill check for players who get there on their first try. But I really enjoy sort of fight patterns and stuff and learning them.
Okay. And now is it just like the fight that stands out with you for the monster, or is it the design as well, or any cool
Oh, it's
attacks that
definitely
they might
both.
have that
I
stands
mean, the
both?
fight is really fun. It's probably the best designed fight in the game, in my opinion, anyway. But I mean, his design is really cool. He's sort of a controller of all the elements, and he'll shoot different elemental attacks at you depending on what mode he's in. So yeah, it's just a really fun, cool fight.
Now, is this your first Monster Hunter game, or did you start somewhere else in the franchise?
I started playing Monster Hunter over 10 years ago now with 4 Ultimate on the 3DS. And that was an experience because there's no second analog stick on the 3DS, so you use the touch screen to control the camera,
maybe?
which is just great.
Probably should.
But
that does not
that's-
sound fun.
No, and it used to be worse in the older games, but
Might make this fight a
yeah,
little more
I
consistent.
started in 4 Ultimate on 3DS, and I've since gone back and played every generation of Monster Hunter, all the way back to sort of PS2 game, which is an experience.
And I'm assuming World is your favorite, correct?
Yes, World is my favorite. But yeah, so now we're setting up for the next fight, though. I'm placing this trap in a specific position, because after this next cutscene, Baroth, the next monster, is going to spawn and just instantly fall into that trap. So I've placed a trap there, and I've also placed some bombs right on top of it. So as soon as he spawns in, he's going to fall into the trap and explode before we even start fighting.
Slinger bursts who actually run out.
That's so brilliant. And I'm assuming that's going to stun them and knock them onto their side, allowing you to charge up the heavy hits.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see in a second here. So he's already in the trap. I run up to him, I start attacking him, he explodes, and we're doing damage. So it's with Greatsword, you want to get all these big true charge slash. Is sort of that two-hit combo that does a ton of damage. I messed up there, so what I'm doing is using paralysis knives that I crafted early in this quest, and that stuns him here, so he still can't move. Hitting him hard, I can do 2 of these true charge slash or TCS during this animation.
God,
And
that's
then
such a cool swing.
And then I'm going to put the trank bombs down first because their effect lingers. Then I'm going to put him in the trap, and I'm going to do another attack during the trap to get him down to the 30% threshold to capture him, and that'll be the fight over.
Okay, somehow
What a
gold is.
crazy setup that you have all found to just stun the monster where they spawn in, fight's over. All done.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sure.
Ideally, with every fight, the
I
goal
messed
is to stop
little
the
bit,
monster from moving at
hey, we
all,
take
because
that
as soon as they
2
start to
second gold.
move,
2 second gold,
you
I
have to deal with AI,
Take
you have to
that.
deal with janky hitboxes sometimes,
I'm pretty good
and
pacing
it
now.
can go wrong very, very fast. You can start losing 30 seconds easily as soon as the monster gets to move.
Well, congratulations on that gold split. That looks like it was nice. Probably felt good to see that.
Yeah, that was with a mess up as well, because this is the first time I'd done that script in a run. So I've improved that since then, I just haven't got a PB.
And now we're heading over to the board, going into another quest. So it looks like we're a little over the halfway point, and
Yep.
you have just absolutely obliterated most of these monsters with crazy scripts. Now,
Yeah.
did you have any part in making any of these scripts, or anything that like you've actually had part in routing this game, or any
wasn't very
finds?
fast. Oh,
Every single script in this I've made myself, for every monster.
I know.
That is
Got all of
insane.
the inputs.
Over the past sort of
Kudos.
3-4 months, I've done all of these scripts. Because no one else has done this run with Greatsword, and every weapon has completely different attacks, so the scripts are very different. So I've taken elements from other weapons runs and sort of adapted them for Greatsword, but I've had to route the entirety of this run myself, basically.
Now, what is the fastest weapon for this category?
The fastest weapon would be Sword and Shield. The Switch Axe is quite close, and the world record run uses a combination of the two, but Sword and Shield is the best, at the moment anyway.
And now,
for
can I ask you why? Oh, sorry, no, go ahead, explain this fight.
Yeah,
over here.
this
My bad.
fight. So we flashed at the beginning to blind Duratodus here, and then knocked him into the wall to give us an opening. Duratodus is very weak to KO. You can sort of knock out a monster with blunt damage, but he also drops these slinger ammo that KO him. So the goal is to just sort of keep KOing him over and over, so he doesn't get to move. So we've got 1 KO here. I'm now going to do a couple hits extra to set up for the next KO. He does this scripted jump after he gets out of it. He's then going to do a small sort of taunt at me while I KO him again.
Please hit the head.
And then do another big attack. And after this, I'm going to start tranking and trapping him. And he'll be very close to capture ready now. This is one of the most annoying fights in the game because the first move he does matters a lot. He can go underground or underwater immediately, and if he does that, you cannot blind him immediately with the flash pod, and you have to just fight him
I lost a
immediately.
little time on that,
and that's just RNG.
That's okay.
So you can RNG time loss.
That was actually a really cool fight. Like the explanation of on how you go about
save time there.
Also, another capture monster too. So that's really cool.
We'll capture every monster that we can. And that run was not clean there. We lost sort of 7 seconds. And that's just because Jota has got to move. I didn't do enough damage with my last hit before he moved, so he managed to get away, and that's just 7 seconds gone because of one slight mistake.
But as you said, it could have been worse. They could have dug underground. Now, if they go underground, do you have to wait, or is there anything that you can do to pull them out, or?
You just have to wait with that fight.
Tragic.
If he goes underground, you just have to wait. You've also, by then, shot your flash pod, so you're not getting that. You just sort of have to improvise and hope you can get back on script by doing a wallbang and then doing the same thing as usual, but you're always losing time, and you possibly resetting.
That's crazy. Just once again, the RNG you guys face in this game is just incredible. That the determination you all show to just continue pushing this lower and lower and lower. Now, speaking of getting lower, is there a hypothetical time that you all have that could be the lowest for this category? Or at least for like your category, as in like your greatsword category.
So 53-minute X. 53X is possible. And I would like to get that. But it would be everything going perfectly, and with all the new time saves that I found, you'd need to use all of them and then execute perfectly, and you could get like a 53-50, I think, something around there. This run is a 54-50 something, I think, if I remember right. But we're now moving into Tobikadachi. We just received the hide tool that I mentioned right at the beginning. And that is actually quite useful, especially at the end of scripts, because you can hide and then track the monster and trap them while they can't see you, which is very, very useful for removing RNG while you're trying to place items around. But here at this start, we're placing another trap before the fight has started, so that as soon as he jumps down off this tree here, he's going to land in the trap, and we can start just hitting him while he can't move. I'm going to do 2 hits, 2 true charge slashes here. Is this the new script or the old one? It's the new one. Okay, cool. I'm now deliberately hitting the back legs with this second TCS, because I want to get a trip. I think I missed I missed it here in this run. But we're deliberately doing less damage by hitting the back legs to get a trip. Here I got some good RNG. He ran up onto the tree and did a charge up, and I was able to knock him off and this gives another knockdown. And after this charged hit here, I'm going to be able to trap him.
Now, you're not going for the head because the tail is the weak point, I'm assuming?
Yeah, so the tail's a big weak point. And you can see here I put on the ghillie mantle to make myself invisible before trapping him, and he just sort of looks around for you, and then do a couple hits extra.
Oh, nice.
And he's captured, and that's that.
So cool. I'm like so focused on the fights. Like, that's crazy to see that, like, how much you have to adapt, and even like you said, you missed the swing, but then immediately jumps on the tree, allowing you to hit the tail, knocking it down.
Yeah.
So when you're charging up your swings, I noticed that you kind of you don't really have like a lot of mobility or control of where you're facing. Is there like a buffer time that allows you to change your direction while you're charging up that swing?
While you're charging, you can change the direction by about 45 degrees-ish in each left or right, and that is all the movement you get with Greatsword. A lot of the gameplay is predicting where the monster's going to be and charging up slow, powerful hits to hit them. So you don't have a lot of mobility. You're just hitting monster hard. and I really like it
Hit
because it
monster.
rewards it rewards
done engine
knowing the
practice
monster
before
matchup
stream.
very well
Didn't do
and knowing
any.
exactly where they're going to be.
Now, can you control the way the enemy falls, or is it just RNG? Because I noticed that like when you're fighting an enemy, you'll start doing a charge up, but then
Alright,
they'll
hope
kind
for
of
the
get
best.
stunned and they'll like stagger to the left or to the right, and you'll like end up just hitting them. Now, are you predicting which way they're going to go, or once again, is that also just RNG if they go left or right when they like fall over?
Usually you can predict it.
Okay.
I don't even remember
me
exactly
too.
how. It's more feel. I've got
There we go.
thousands of hours in this game, so I don't actually know why I can predict everything, but sometimes it is just RNG. But here we're doing
Okay.
another flash at the beginning of this fight, so we have time to place this trap down. And this is Anjanath, the most annoying fight in the game, in the speedrun. So we're starting
Now,
by
why
doing
is
two...
that?
That's not great. Should still
Uh,
be fine though.
yeah, it's just really hard script, basically.
Oh, I see. There's also enemies that come in, so you have to fight more.
Yeah,
than
these
just
are the small enemies, and they don't hit you, but they are annoying. So here we're doing 2 True Charge Slash, and the last one is after he's out of the trap animation, which means we can get a stagger here. So after the stagger, we do another hit. I missed the roll there on the roar, but managed to still be okay. I'm now shooting a sleep knife at him, and after I shoot 2, he's going to fall asleep. Once he's finished his fall asleep animation, this next hit on him will do double damage. So I'm timing my True Charge Slash here, so it hits just after the he's in the sleep animation, so that my True Charge Slash can do double damage. And then I'm dropping the rock on him to get another knockdown, to do another one.
That was cool.
And now after this, I'm going to do one last hit on him, and then stagger him with the slinger ammo. And now he's pretty much ready for capture. So I'm going to shoot a flashbot to keep him in place, and then I'm going to try and trap him.
You know,
And then
for
I can
the
just-
most annoying fight, you made that look very
okay,
simple.
good.
Yeah, the real problem with that fight is you have to hit basically
That was a
everything, or
juicy
it
gold
goes very,
spike.
very wrong very, very quickly. I've changed the script on that fight so many times, you have no idea.
Okay,
And I've actually
now
got a
just don't
new
mess up
one
Zora.
that's slightly different, slightly faster, slightly more consistent, but also much harder to do perfectly.
That was such a
the
cool ceiling drop too. Like once again, these scripts that you come up with, they're incredible to watch. Like you said, it's like a screenplay. Like I'm just excited to see what's coming next. Just congratulations on routing such a
boy.
really fun run, just to watch alone. Like wow.
Yeah. And that was the last interesting fight of the run, because next up is
Yes,
Zora
also
Magdaros,
the
and you might
line.
see that we have
Get the
14
54.
minutes left for one fight, which is a lot of time, given that every fight up to this point has been about 2 minutes. And that is because this is another auto-scroller, and we have tried very, very hard to skip it. We found some strats to speed up the first part of it, but the second part, we just have to sit there and wait. So we'll have a lot of time to go through any questions at all.
Perfect.
Oh boy.
Now, is this fight fun when you get to the fight, or no?
No, nothing is fun about this fight. This is
Got
the
it,
worst part
got
of the
it.
entire run. And I usually get up, go to the toilet, grab a drink, come back, and wait another minute halfway through this fight.
What an amazing way to cap off such a brilliant run so far. A lot of fun to watch. It has just been captivating action left and right, talking about your resource gathering, and then you just ended on an auto scroller that you are able to just get up and leave. Amazing.
Yeah.
What a
The
way to
first
end
part
it.
of this run, this fight though, is pretty involved. So we've got to wait for the Zorobacters there to reach this barrier and then destroy it. But he's got a few scripted actions that have to happen before he'll transition to phase 2. One of them is you have to binder him so he stops moving. But for some reason, the earlier you bind him with the one-shot binder here, the less time he's in it, so the faster it is because he gets to the barrier earlier. So we just immediately run up to the barrier there and shoot him,
Be very annoyed.
and then we go to camp and do some inventory management.
Wow. Like I gotta follow the script, get all this done, and then just figure out ways to fill in this time. And now,
Yeah.
do you have any theories for the second part, or does the community have any theories for the second part that might make it possible to skip, or has everything pretty much been exhausted to this point where all the runners are just pretty much accepting that it's inevitable, that you're gonna have to do it?
I don't need these items.
Oh, it is definitely inevitable. We've reached out to modders
That's sad.
we reached out to a modder who investigated thoroughly, and so our thought was, what would happen if we could, because at the end of this quest, another monster shows up, and once you hit that monster a couple times, then the quest ends. So we thought, what if we killed that monster early? But the modders looked into it, and that monster is 2,000 units underground, behind 20 layers of anti-projectile and protection, and every single step this Zora Magdaros takes is a flag that the game has to meet before the quest will end. So it's not happening.
Wow, they really trapped you all into doing this long segment. You gotta love how flag system works in speedruns, but also really cool find by by the modder, and that you all wanted to just make sure that it was like, I don't want to waste any more time. Is it possible? Is it not? I don't want to keep doing this. And the mod's like, no, it's not possible. Just have fun with your auto scroller.
So here we're actually doing the first strat. So Zora Magdaros here has a couple animations he has to do before he will transition. He's going to do 2 attacks to destroy the cannons and ballista on the side here, but he doesn't have to finish them, he just has to start them. So we actually use the cannons at set times to skip those animations by staggering him out of them, and he can just move on to the next animation. So that first one we timed when he does the big step forward, and this one we're going to time when his head sort of stops moving, but his beard keeps with the physics. It's pretty obvious when you see it, but yeah, so that's coming up here, just doing some dancing.
I saw that. I was like, I love the emotes, just waiting for his head to stop moving. So I kind of see that their head is kind of slowing down.
Yeah. He's going to do a step forward, and then right there, you can see it sort of snapped in place, and that's when I shoot. You could shoot slightly earlier, but that's the consistent setup. We're now going to shoot another ballista shot at him to get another stagger here, and then after this is over, we get one more stagger just to cancel some small animations. If you shoot this too early, you can still get the stagger but not skip the animation, and you can lose 20 seconds. So
oh my goodness,
that's fun. But we shot the rest of our shots into his belly there, and that's because it needs 13 shots after that stagger to get the next stagger. And so we're going to shoot 12 into him and then wait for a cue to shoot another one in. And that will skip a huge roar animation that he does. And that saves about 2.5 seconds as well.
Could you, oh my god. The routing of this game.
So this is also a pretty new find, was this. So this is, that's 4. I wait for his arms to start lifting upwards, and then I'm going to shoot the last one.
The routing in this game is crazy to figure out, like, and I wonder, like, how long it took to figure out how to cancel, like, oh, these animations can be canceled. Oh my god, the time save too, way of explaining it, 20 seconds here, a couple seconds there, like, this almost seems like a well over a minute time save with just the animation cancels.
Oh yeah, it's a huge time save. This quest will be like 12.5 minutes long, a little less than that. If you don't do this stuff, it can be a 15-minute quest. So this stuff saves easily over 2 minutes, probably 3.
So if you were to not run this with Greatsword, what would you run it with? Like, do you have any plans on running this category with anything other than Greatsword, or no?
I would like Hunting Horn to have a good time in this. Hunting Horn is sort of, it's a... Think you hit the monster over the head with a big set of bagpipes, and then you play songs. And that's the Hunting Horn. It's like a hammer.
Sounds really cool.
It's a musical hammer on a stick. It's great.
Now, because it's musical, does it buff you?
Yes, you can play songs to give yourself buffs, but unfortunately, the Defender Hunting Horn, which is the best one, doesn't have good songs because every Hunting Horn has different song list.
And
so unfortunately, we don't actually get good buffs with it.
Enjoy Zora dance.
But I would like to see Hunting Horn have a good time.
Honestly, that would be really cool to see a weapon that's that unconventional be used in a run like this. Here goes your dancing again. Here we go, waiting
Yep.
for more things to happen. So what are you waiting for here in this area? I see you transition to another area by taking your bird.
Yeah, so this is the second phase, and I don't know if you can see in the distance, sort of where that shadow is, at the end of this crevice. That is where Zora Mactus has to reach for the next part of the quest to start. And you can see he's very, very slowly taking steps forward, and these are the every step that has to happen before the quest will end.
So
Every
this is the part
single
you were
one.
talking about with the mod. Like you got
Yes.
the modder to check this part out. Oh, okay, I get it. I get
And
it now.
we
Why
are
you
not
want
skipping
this.
and this will last about 4 or 5 minutes. So what questions do you have?
Okay, so one of the questions I have is what did the devs intend players to do during this?
So
Just this?
what they want you to do is Zora Mactus has these sort of magma cores, which are sort of red rocks that explode with lava every so often, and you can do damage to them and they explode. And the idea is that you go around, you destroy these magma cores to do damage to Zora, to weaken him before he gets to the barrier so you can capture him. Clearly, the NPCs in this game don't know you can't capture Elder Dragons, so they think it's a good idea, but it doesn't work, and no matter what you do, it doesn't work. There is a damage cap you have to hit before the quest ends, but we've already done all that damage with 2 cannon shots, so it's completely unnecessary. There's also a bunch of mining nodes, so if you need ore, you can go around and mine a bunch on the back of Zora, but we don't need it in this run, so we are just waiting.
So now I'm assuming if you were to do the second part of the run, as we're talking about the 3 segments to make up the full run,
Right.
now would this fight change and you would go around mining and doing stuff like that, or would it still just be an auto scroller for you?
I would mine probably 2 nodes and then go back to standing still.
There's just no escaping it. Got it.
In the full run, with Greatsword, you need a couple pieces of ore that you can get from this fight, and that is it. So I'd mine as many nodes as gets me that, and then I would go back to dancing on his back here.
All right. Well, since we're going to be sitting here for a minute, I actually have some personal questions for you about the game. So we brought up the food and how it gives you buffs and stuff. Now, is there any food in the game that you would like to try in real life if you had a chance?
There are a bunch of, there are some, so they all have different names. I don't remember them all, but there are some like monster
I really
meats.
don't want to miss
And I'm very curious what these fantasy monsters taste like. There's a bunch of them are just like some monster's name and then breast or something, you know. It's be interesting.
I've seen some of the older games when they had the food and they were like comically large, looking like they were just like giant like meats on giant bones. I thought that was kind of funny. You could
It's
see
the
them like
same in
eating
this
it,
as well.
and it was okay. I figured like
It's the
that
same in
the
this.
anime-esque food. Got
You know,
it.
you won't see it in any of the speedruns because you can skip those animations, so we do. But yeah, and they all have really fun cooking animations as well. Of it's the cats that make the food, so they're always entertaining.
Oh, okay. So once again, like you said, they're not 100% useful. They're kind of useful in fights, but they're mostly just kind of accessories. The cat's like, oh, we're also the cook as well. Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like we're almost done with this. So now
boy.
if
No,
you
there's
were to
still
be
2
put,
minutes.
Kind of close.
so
hope
if you were to be put in the
6
Monster
seconds is
Hunter
enough
world,
leeway.
once again, if you had like the actual character's powers, not like your actual self type thing, like you'd get crushed by a monster and immediately just get splattered. Would you still use a greatsword, or do you think another weapon would actually suit your personality more?
I have no idea, man. I mean, jeez. I just like the greatsword. I think I'd have to keep with the greatsword. There may be hunting horn. I think I'd enjoy
Is Toby
beating the
good?
monster to death with
I mean, it was
music.
okay, I know,
I
but
think that's funny.
Honestly, after you talked about
Was
the
it
hunter
even
one, I
all
think
that
that would
good?
probably be mine. That just sounds way
feel
too
like
cool. There'd just be blaring
I'll have to
tunes as you're
watch
just smacking
VOD,
these
but
giant
I feel
monsters
like
around.
Toby
Some of the
had
songs do
good-
damage as well,
um,
which is fun. So
That's so cool.
That's cool.
Such an interesting idea. Like
Toby
you see
had
that you have the
some time
bards in like
save.
RPGs. They'll make some
Anja-
music. They'll sing for the party. And in this game, it's like no, the bard is
Anja was
literally
pretty
up in
good.
the front, just
Oh, it was a pretty
bashing
good
heads
Anja.
in. What a cool concept. I think the only other game I could think
I
of
don't
that
know,
did
this
that
much
with
time
bard
saved, we had
classes
the-
was Warframe, where you had
few
that one
seconds.
class where you could actually make synth music and use it as a weapon. So that's so neat.
Yeah, it's one of my
So-
favorites.
Do you have a favorite greatsword in this game? We've only seen one weapon throughout this whole. Well, I guess two weapons: the beginning one, and then you picked up
Okay.
the add-on of when the Iceborne was released. But do you
I
actually
didn't
have a
think this
favorite
might
weapon
suit,
in
but
this
I'm gonna
game?
eat it anyway.
In this game, I think probably Folga Anjanath, which is sort of a subspecies of the pink T-Rex. But in all games, I like Gogmasios from 4 Ultimate, the game I started with. But now
Now,
we actually have some
what kind of
stuff to
weapon is
talk
that?
about.
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
We have some stuff to talk about. So pretty soon we're gonna have the other monster that's gonna spawn, and it's gonna spawn on the back of Zora here. We're going to deliberately fall out of bounds here because it will teleport us back onto Zora's back in just the perfect position to set up here. I'm then going to place bombs right on top of this specific rock because that's where Nergigante, which is the monster,
Don't
is going to
miss the roll,
spawn. I'm
don't
going
miss
to put
the
on the
roll.
hide mantle, Gilly mantle here. And as soon as he spawns here, I'm going to hit him once, shoot some slinger, and blow up the bombs, and he's going to have taken all the damage already. So roll the roar here with iframes, hit him,
Got it.
blow up the bombs, and done.
Let's go.
So as soon as the cutscene starts, time ends. And it is
54,
54, 53.
Oh wow! As you were saying, so there is really
That's
no
enough.
fight to this ending part. It's literally just
Nope.
set up a trap, couple hits, you're done. The rest of it is just
Yep.
riding on the
Oh,
back
I'm
of a
happy.
giant monster.
I am happy.
Wow.
Yep, and
What-
that split is 14 minutes long.
That was such an ending to such an amazing run, to be honest.
There's
Like
half a second
the whole thing was so captivating to watch.
Hey,
The
nice
scripts were
read.
just so much fun. Sorry it's
to
halted by a
say,
14-minute
I get this
split,
beautiful,
but this
beautiful
run was
PB.
so fun.
I'm so happy I got this.
Like,
thought
Yeah,
this
I
was
really
gonna
enjoy
be
it.
yeah.
I'd like to push
I really did.
the time in this category
But I've
down
been
to
labbing,
below 54 minutes,
working on the
but it is a
scripts
crazy grind,
today.
and
Oh, you were here for
I
the whole
also
run?
want
Oh,
to
man.
get
You've just
the
been
routing
silent
done
the
for
whole
some of the
time.
longer categories, because I'd like to see how far Greats will get in there.
I've been working on scripts
I am
today,
actually really
basically.
excited to see you push the actual full
Um,
category. Seeing the 54,
so I got the new
53,
Toby
and
scripts,
seeing how fun this was with a great
new
sword,
Jaguar
I
scripts
now
for
want to
this
see the
work.
full
That's
run
it.
with a great sword. That was just a ton of
I
fun.
found what Jaguar
Congratulations
told
to
me
you
told us
on
to
the
be
routing you
consistent.
did, the time, all these gold splits at the end. I'm hoping you get a 53, but I do know, like you said, there's a lot of
glad I got
RNG
this.
and a lot of reset
This is a good
points,
run.
so it's going to be a monumental
Bad
task for
Jaguars,
sure.
It's like 10 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Taking
And
the run,
with
trying to
the
see how it
routing
goes.
the
It's
longer
slow.
categories, I mean, like I say, I've been running this
Yeah.
one for like 3 months now, to just routing it, slowly
Yeah,
making
so-
improvements from
I
like over an
found
hour
what
to
like
54, 53, which is second place on the leaderboard right now with any weapon. But this
I
is
mean,
3
that would do
months
it.
for the first third
That would
of
do
the
it.
game, so yeah, getting the whole game done is a lot of work, and some of the later fights are much harder and
Who told us that was
take a lot
RNG?
tighter timing to get right.
Who told us
So
that?
we'll see.
Have you ever
See how
thought
long
about
that takes
submitting
me.
this to a marathon? Like, you have so much
I
knowledge in
have.
the run,
Is it 10 seconds?
and
I think?
you're great at talking
yeah.
about it. I would love to see you submit
That
this into a
Angelo? I
marathon.
know, that was a good Anja.
So a few months
I
ago, back in
finally get a good
early
answer in a row.
February, I did actually submit
I'm
the
gonna have
sort
to
of
have a look at
midway
the vlogs,
category,
I didn't...
and that was one of the big things that sort of pushed me to script
we
this
had
all
Zora.
down and get it pretty
22,
optimized.
66.
Was I had a marathon date, and I did do this at marathon a few months ago. This is quite different to when it was then. I've made it a lot more
Am I
optimized since
second
then.
place now? Yes,
But yeah, I
I'm
did do it
second
at
place.
WASD earlier this year.
Well, I would love to see more because this was a ton of fun. Your knowledge in the run is incredible. Like the way you talk about the monsters, the combat, just talking about your resource gathering. Like every segment of this was just hype. Like even just watching you run around, it was like, okay, what's the next item I'm gonna grab? And you're like, oh yeah, we have this time that's like, oh, we got 10 seconds left, gotta grab this one item. If you don't grab it, it's a minute time loss as this chicken just trying to murder you in this arena. It's like, what?
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So I know that you said after this run you wanted to break down some of the ILs that you did for your tournament. And for everybody watching, so Luigi just actually did a tournament for Monster Hunter, placing third place in the overall bracket. And they wanted to kind of go over some of the ILs that they did in the tournament. Do you want to jump into that and kind of explain like how you did the scripts and what you and your teammates were up against?
Yeah, before we jump right in though, I think an important distinction between full game and IL runs. Most of the time with IL runs, you go in with an end game file with perfect gear that you've optimized for the specific quest. And also each IL run is going to have more RNG than a full game run, because in our full game runs, we monsters always spawn in the same place, they have the same amount of health, they're the same size, and all of that is static, and we can script perfectly for that. Generally in IR runs, all of that is random, and we have to sort of reset for it or mods to change it, which is allowed to a certain extent. But then we've got AI in the quests, and monsters will have more HP because we're in the end game versions of the monsters, and we have to deal with a lot of RNG and a lot of improv. So
Wow,
the same
okay.
rules apply a lot of the time with IL runs. You want to keep the monster static, you want to do lots of damage, you want to keep them from doing AI attacks, because then you have to actually fight the monster, and that is obviously a lot slower than just hitting them while they're down. But yeah, so let's just jump in.
I didn't realize there was so many variables. All right, so we're gonna start off the first video. If you want to go ahead and explain.
Yeah. This was our qualifying run, so we were able to reset this a bunch. This took quite a long time to grind out. This is a two-player run, me and my teammate. So this is currently my teammate's POV. So we're distracting Odegaron here by shooting a Slender Burst down, and then I'm weakening up the head while he wallbangs him into the wall. So now we have this opening here. I'm placing the Affinity Booster, which means we have higher crit chance. I'm going to leave TCS on here. And we're timing the last hit of this so that he's out of the wallbang animation and he can get staggered here. More TCS here. And again, timing it so he staggers again afterwards. Now we have a little bit of him running around, but we've done this fight, so we know right now we have an opening. We shoot him again, and now he's KO'd, which we've done with the Slinger ammo. We get another TCS here for huge damage. So now we do a little more damage, which we time for another good hit there. And now we just have a little bit more RNG while we to finish him off. He's very close to dead here. And there we go.
So what is the like routing with another person?
So both you have to be pretty in sync, but generally it's so monsters will scale to how many people are in the quest. So if you've got 2 people in the quest, the monster will have about 1.5 times the HP, but their AI will be less predictable because it's random which of you they'll target. So you have sort of a give and take of that. But you can also share tasks, like at the beginning, instead of having to weaken and then wallbang, you can do both at the same time and save a bunch of time. But in this quest specifically here, you can see the second monster spawns at a set time, so we're able to do an attack just as they spawn to get some early damage in, and then do the wallbang. So now we have this down animation here. I messed up slightly and missed the head there, but we're, again, timing our hits, so just after this animation, we hit with our big hit, so we get an early stagger. We're then going to clutch on to extend that stagger animation and time another big hit for another stagger as soon as that one's over. We're then extending the animation again, doing some damage, and then after my friend here hits his big hit, we're going to KO and then keep doing big hits in the next stagger. So again, we're just trying to keep the monster from moving. If we got perfect RNG and we execute properly, it'd be dead here. but luckily we managed to get the AI there so that we got an extra down here and we were able to kill it right there. And that was our time. That was how we qualified for the tournament with a 2:59.
Like I said, you have to like have so much coordination stuff, and I see that you're starting your swings just like less than half a second apart, so you just collide at the perfect times for these stuns. I'm assuming over comms, you guys are just constantly going over and like, letting each other know like when to hit those hits. Now, a question I kind of didn't ask inside the main run and stuff was, I noticed that Monster Hunter World introduced the grappling hook, and you use it for extended stuns. Now, is that like the only use for the grappling hook? That's the only time I saw you using it was just extending.
So the grappling
on the
hook is we call it's called the clutch claw, and that's also how we do the wall bangs, where we shoot the monster into the wall for a knockdown. So it has a couple of uses. You can do it. You clutch onto the monster, and you can either weaken a part by sort of attacking it, and then it softens up, and you do more damage to it. You can turn the monster around, and then you can shoot Slinger into their face to shoot them into the wall for a longer knockdown. Also,
I was wondering how you did the wall knock. That makes sense.
That's how you do it. Also, there's a clutch claw stagger, which we call a clagger, which is when they sort of stagger back and they're sort of drooling from their mouth. And if you clutch onto them, it extends the timer that they stay stunned, which is really useful for getting extra hits in that free damage time.
Now, that previous fight we just watched with the serpent dragon, that small one that we just watched beforehand, I noticed that it would stagger and you would clip onto its face, and it looked like it was doing that drooling animation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, that is what I'm talking about.
That's super cool. All right, so we're moving on to the next video. Oh, go ahead.
It's especially useful in multiplayer runs because while one person is just extending the time, the other person could do extra damage. And you can even wait extra long time before clutching on, and you can get it by default. It's 6 seconds stagger, and if you clutch on the last possible frame, it adds another 6 seconds. So
12 seconds of just straight stun. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can have a 12 seconds stun there, and if you're in multiplayer with up to 3 other people all hitting in that time, you can do so much extra damage.
That's crazy. That, like I said, the things that you all came up with on how to do max damage is just such a blast to watch. So we're gonna move into your next video, and I see it says the Basil script. Or Basil. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But if you want to start up the video.
Yeah, so this is from when we were practicing for the tournament. This is one of the quests in the tournament, and you actually get to see some hunting horn gameplay from my friend. You don't get to see his POV, but so these are arena quests where it gives you a monster which has static HP and stuff like that, and it also has set weapons, so you can't choose which weapons to use. You have a set loadout you have to use. So we're starting off with a sleep here to make consistent, and my friend is putting down an affinity booster for crit chance. And then we're starting off with a KO, and then a paralysis instantly, and also weakening the head for more damage, while my friend here plays a bunch of songs to boost our damage. We're then going to get another KO. And then we're going to get a sleep after this. So with this quest, we're chaining CCs together as much as possible so the monster doesn't ever get to do any RNG, because especially on Basil Goose here, if he gets to move, we are in big trouble because he can kill us in 1 to 2 hits in this quest, and also move around a bunch. He can fly around, has long animations that we can't hit him during, and it's awful. So during this trap, we're getting 2 CCs. I'm then shielding my weapon while my friend does more damage, so I can get this trap down before he gets to move. And we can keep hitting him before with no RNG. And in the tournament, we were able to demolish our competition on this quest. We beat them by like 20 to 30 seconds when we did this quest with this script.
Yeah, I noticed in the tournament this was an incredible fight.
Yeah.
This whole thing looks so hectic though. Like you can tell that you're trying to keep them from not even moving like an inch. Every time the monster gets up, you're all like, oh no, get him down.
You could pause real quick and go back a few seconds. A little more. Right here, you can see there's these sort of acorns on the ground that explode. Those have killed many runs, because after he gets out of that trap, he's enraged and he drops those bombs on the floor. And if you hit them, they explode. and we are right next to him attacking him, and we have to make sure we don't get hit by those, or in the tournament, if we cart and die, we just lose automatically. So that was a big thing that we have to notice is when are we still getting hit, even if we are completely locking the monster in place. And we were dying quite a bit in practice before we sort of noticed what was happening and how to avoid that. And that was a 150.
I'm glad that you pointed that out, because when I was watching the fight, I thought that was something that you threw at the monster. I didn't know that was the monster's attack. Okay.
No, that was
makes
it
a lot
attacking
more
us.
sense.
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes, because like you, once again, you're also doing kind of explosions and big swingy attacks, and I see that you have a I want to call it like the scatter shot and stuff. So I wasn't sure if there was like a bigger version with bombs. So
I mean, there are actually stinger ammos that do explode as well. So we absolutely do explosions, and there are some weapons that have sort of shelling damage that explode as well. So there's quite a few.
also, I love how if you look at the rank, it says A rank 5 minutes, and then here we're at 150. I'm like, is that like a triple S rank? Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, so the arena quests have set times, C, B, and A, and A rank is the best. And if you're actually good at the game and script the fights well, they're all a complete joke to get. You can get them all pretty easily.
Yeah, you can definitely tell they're definitely for more the casual, but yeah, the triple S right there, that's crazy. All right, so we're gonna be moving into another video. We have Tigrex script, so if you want to jump in to explain this one.
Yeah, this is another fun one. I'm now playing Sword and Shield, which is the weapon I talked about being the best for full game runs, and my friend is on Hammer. So again, we're going to sleep at the start here, just to make the start more consistent. And actually, since we did this, we changed the script slightly, so my friend weakens the arm during this, instead of standing around. But it's everything else sort of acts the same, it's just for sort of wayward hits. So we start with the warbang there.
Amazing.
I'm then going to poison him with these poison knives, so by shooting 2, he's now poisoned and will take damage over time, before doing Perfect Rush, which is sort of the main combo of Sword and Shield. We get the KO and the weaken, and then we're just going to start CC chaining. And this is another example of a monster where if we play right and we don't miss anything, and we're not late on anything, he will not get to move.
Watching these fights reminds me of that clip from Smash Bros. Wombo combo, wombo combo. Like it's amazing to see the giant hammer swinging with the sword and shield. Which while I was watching the tournament, I now realized that one of the teams that I was watching, I think it was the 3rd round, they were using sword and shield, which I thought they were using their fist. But no, okay, that makes a lot more sense now that I can actually see it and that you explained what they're using.
Yeah, so we're sort of chaining sleeps, paralysis, KO, and also traps all together to keep him in place. You see there, the trap was slightly late, and he was able to get out of it. We had to deal with this little RNG. If he had one move he could do there. Luckily, he did a move that puts him back in the trap. But if he didn't, this could have lost easily sort of 10-20 seconds, depending on what he did. But luckily, he went back in the trap, and we can get back on script here.
Now, what was the hardest fight in the tournament that you had a script for? Was it Basil?
No. The hardest was Zenoga, probably, because you can't really script him. You don't have many resources to keep him in one place. So our script going into the tournament was, we just fight him. We just do a casual fight, and we hope the other team dies during their round. That was our genuine plan. Just fight him. And we had a very similar plan on Velkana, which is another one of the tough ones, which was just hope they die. We have a script technically that can kill it very quickly, but it's very, very hard to execute, so our plan was just don't do that quest ever.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, when the fact that if you can't script it out and there's no way of stunning an enemy and keeping them down, it might as well just go balls to the wall and just start swinging. Okay, I got it. So I think we're actually moving into the last script, which is the I'm give me a second. Let me try to pronounce this. The Gyrex. How do you pronounce that? What does that say? I cannot see it.
This is Yang
Garuda, okay.
Garuga, and this is another one that we work pretty heavily on, and there's another CC chain. But I've actually just sent Vex another one to do after this, which has a bit more movement in it, so it should be interesting.
Okay, perfect.
But we can just start this now.
Go ahead.
So here we're going to be using two more different weapons. So I'm using Charge Blade, which is a bigger sword and shield that turns into an axe, sort of morphs between them. And my friend is using Heavy Bowgun, which is a gun with multiple different ammos, but it's very slow.
So I see you throw on the ghillie suit.
Yeah, I'm throwing on Ghillie so he doesn't notice me because we have to set this up properly. I'm then throwing on Rocksteady Mantle, which means I cannot get stunned by the monster at all, so I don't need to worry about roars, I don't need to worry about getting hit, except for health. So then, friend Warbangs, I'm weakening the head here, and now I need to hit the monster with my sword to charge up these files, which I can then use for big damage. Or my friend is going to deal with all the CC, so he's starting with a KO. And I'm then doing a trap here. He has to do this trap extra early because Garuga is going to enrage from all the damage we're doing, and if he's enraged, he cannot be trapped by this type of trap. So now we're working on another... I think my friend's just doing more damage here, and now he's going to trap during this head wave here.
I gotta say, this might be the most visually pleasing weapon I've seen so far.
Yes, it is very satisfying. So now we're going to get another KO. During this KO, he's going to shoot paralysis knives. I believe, yeah. To get a paralysis right afterwards. You can see it's still just stuck in one place, and then we're going to get another KO after this. So with the charge blade here, I'm just trying to keep up my damage rotation without hitting my friend, because he has a shield on his gun there that's not strong enough to help at all, but is will give him a stunned animation if I hit him. So we have to make sure we're coordinated and not in one place, because otherwise I will hit him, he will have to reload extra times because it will cancel his animation, and then he will be late on the CC chain. So that was 2 minutes. Our best we got was a 153, and it can go faster than that.
Okay, so Ghibli just pointed out saying that weapons have sharpness. Now, does this actually take effect inside your runs?
Yes, so weapons have sharpness going from red all the way to purple being the best. They all have a multiplier to the damage you deal with most of your attacks. It's only is for melee weapons, of course, although it does count for blunt weapons, like the hammer has sharpness. So you do sharpen your hammer in this game.
Okay.
But, at purple sharpness, which is the max, you do, I think it's 39% more damage than with the base yellow sharpness. And there's, yeah.
Now, do these actually
it matters.
affect, like, do you actually have to route in any of these sharpening things, or do you guys kill these monsters so fast that sharpening is not an issue?
So for most of the time, unless not including these arenas, which are sort of a special case where you don't get to choose much and you're just going to be sharpening if you need to, you're going to be rooting all this in with your build beforehand, because there are skills that you can get in your build that mean you don't have to sharpen as much, or sharpening is quicker, or you have extra sharpness, so you get out of the range of you're going to run out of sharpness. But other than that, you generally don't want to sharpen because it takes time, but you need to stay at high sharpness to do damage. So it's sort of a balancing act between how much you put in your build and how much there's an opening here where I can sharpen and I can't do much damage, so I'm not losing much. And you just sort of got to work that out on a case-by-case basis.
That's crazy. Another mechanic I didn't know you all had to route around. That's super cool.
Yeah.
So it looks like this would be the video that you just sent to Vex. So
Yeah,
we're going to be jumping into this one.
Yeah, so this is Savage Devil Joe, and this is using a pretty funny looking strat. So we're both using Gun Lance, and I will tell you now, I still, after doing this, have no idea how to play Gun Lance. I have no idea how this weapon works, but I can do this speedrun. So we're placing the trap down here, equipping Mantle here, and we are now putting in what we call the butt plug. I don't know what it's actually called, but we call it a butt plug. And whenever you hit this with an explosion, it will also explode. So we are now going to explode bunch on the leg here, and we're going to try and CC chain with this.
I'm just confused watching this weapon. Like, what?
So, you like explosions. We like explosions. I don't think the Devil Joe likes the explosions. But we're just going to keep exploding. So, Devil Joe is going to do two things at all. He has one attack, which has a really long wind-up, and if you hit him during it, he has this really long knockdown here. He's going to do that. Then afterwards, we're going to hit him to enough damage that he does the Clagger, which is the Clutch Claw Stagger. We're going to do a bunch of damage during that. So that's this one. And then afterwards, he's going to do the big attack again. And that is the script. And as far as what buttons we're pressing, I am pressing and holding circle. I'm then pressing and holding circle, and that's it.
Okay.
So when I say I have no idea how to play this weapon, I mean I can press one button.
I literally, this might be the wackiest weapon I've seen in this game so far, considering the fact that we just saw a spinning blade that has electricity around it that you were doing literal 360s on the stage with, to... what? Okay, rocket propelled
I will also say
lances.
that if this wasn't an arena quest, you would never use this strategy, basically. This is not generally a good way of playing this weapon, but it works in this specific scenario, and I think it's funny, so I wanted to show it.
That's brilliant. Now, would this actually be a viable strat? Like this is for your tournament, correct?
Yes, we use this in tournament.
So there was no other way of going around this other than just gun lancing this guy to death. That's amazing. I love this.
I mean, we could use different weapon combinations, but this was the fastest and the most consistent. So that was 2:29. We've had down to sort of low 2 minute, and the record on this is like a 1:27 with the same strategy. If you actually know what you're doing and you get good RNG, you can go super fast on this with this strat.
Okay, so all of these ILs were so unique. Different weapons, different strategies. This one I was not expecting. Out of all the things, I was like, okay, big weapon goes smack, but then shooting missile-propelled lance drills into the leg and exploding them was probably not on my bingo card when it came to weapons for this game. Monster Hunter World, this showcase alone has really made me want to give this a try. I was so intimidated, but this just looks so wacky and so fun. Like, how could you not want to play this?
Yeah, it's super fun. I really like finding the scripts and strategies myself, experimenting around with it, finding ways to keep the monster in place. And once you sort of play the game enough, you're able to sort of work out where you can stand to sort of manipulate the AI, so you always do good attacks. A couple of good examples would be like Glavenus has a huge big tail slam, and with Greatsword, you can bait that out by standing really far away, and then you can TCS and perfectly avoid the slam, the tail slam, and then get a TCS on his recovery afterwards, and it's beautiful to watch. It's really hard, but there are a lot of cool AI manipulation strategies where you just know where to stand to bait out the AI that you want. So ILs are like that, are really, really fun to watch. A pain to grind, but they're fun to watch.
We have a question from the community asking, do any of these ILs use the glaive?
So with ILs, they are always ranked separately for different weapons. So yes, people speedrun with every single weapon, and every single weapon is very competitive on pretty much every big monster. So yes.
But you just didn't have any use for your glaive for your ILs. It wasn't anything that you
we
found
didn't use
a way
the
to run
glaive at all in these 10. Other people did use glaive as part of theirs because they prefer glaive, or they're better with glaive, or they found some strat that was better for them. But we didn't in ours. But glaive is
Honestly,
one of the stronger weapons.
The strats that you did use were really entertaining. I like the weapon composition. The fact that you and your teammate just had so much synergy, it's a ton of fun to watch. I did not realize that it was a competitive side to Monster Hunter, the way that you guys showcased in that event, giving me a lot more respect for this game as well. I was like, oh yeah, speedrunning, but I didn't know there was actual like IL tournaments. Like, this was a ton of fun. So Luigi, thank you for the showcase.
Yeah,
This
thank you
was
for having me.
this was very insightful. Monster Hunter now ranks into one of the most interesting games I've learned about recently. I'm definitely going to be looking more into this. I want you to keep pushing these times. I cannot wait to see a full 80% run. This is a ton of fun. I
It'll
don't know if
happen
you have any
eventually.
tournaments or anything coming up, but is there anything you would like to plug for yourself, such as like your stream, where to find you, any tournaments you have coming up, any marathons?
So I stream on Twitch. My name on Twitch is just Louwegi, but also I'm gonna plug Elixir MH on YouTube, which is sort of a speedrunning team I'm a part of. We just do Monster Hunter speedruns, and we just do a ton of IL runs on there with every weapon in a few different games. So if you're interested in any Monster Hunter IL speedruns, which is the most competitive thing in Monster Hunter, then please check us out on YouTube. And yeah. Thanks for having me. I could talk about this all day.
No, thank you so much for being here. This was a ton of fun, and I literally had a ton of questions in my head, and you were so thorough that a lot of the questions I had kind of just got thrown out the window because you pretty much answered them as you were going. I appreciate your confidence on the mic. I appreciate your confidence in the run itself. Your passion really shines through. I can't wait to see what else you have in store. Maybe we'll have you up on here again for another run. Maybe once you get your first 80% run for the full game. But with that, thank you again, Louwegi, for stopping by. Thank you, everybody who came by to show Louwegi support in this showcase. It was a ton of fun. This was Monster Hunter History Books 80%. We got to watch a ton of monsters get taken down, learn about a ton of strats, dive into a little bit of the lore. And that was our first frame by frame. Thank you all so much. Louwegi, do you would like to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, see you guys. Time to go look at what this bounty is.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have a ton of fun with it. Once again, also thank you so much for behind the scenes. Vex was back there doing the production. Thank them so much for all that they did in making sure that this came out smooth. We had a little hiccup at the beginning, but they were very quick to clean it up. So huge shout out to the staff as well. And with that, everybody, we are out. Thank you again for being here for the weekly recap. And we will catch you all next weekend at Sunday, same time. You all stay amazing. Peace out, guys.